Welcome to episode 24 of VYPE Recruit Spotlight. I am your host, Wack, and once again, only joined by Jackson. Ashton is on vacation. Hey, we all gotta take a vacation sometimes. I took mine the beginning of June. You took yours like in a little small window. You were still able to record with us, and now Ashton's taking his. I'm back from a busy weekend at the Texas High School Coaches Association Conference. It was a tiring but fun event. I wasn't there so much like you would see people at the booths and stuff. We had to film some sessions, so I was kind of managing that. But we're back, better than ever. Jackson, how you doing, man?
Doing good. Had a very busy week last week. We had citywide photo shoots going on for football, which are always a ton of fun. We also headed out to Willis for a photo shoot for their campus. And then this week we had Rose Hill Christian and Legacy Prep, which are both a ball of fun. So it's been a busy week, and it's been pretty busy everywhere else as well, as you'll see what we got to talk about during the show.
Yeah, it is officially photo shoot season. I mean, is there ever not photo shoot season with Five? I feel like maybe like from like what May to like early June, just because you don't really take photo. You can't. There's really nothing to take for photo wise, but it's almost always photo shoot season here at VYPE, and we're rolling with the fall photo shoots now. I think we have maybe a little bit of a reprieve next week, and then back at it. I know for me especially, got a few schools here up in the Hill Country area coming up here early August. But that being said, let's jump into what this show is about. Of course, talking Texas high school football recruiting news, and we'll talk about a couple of the big ones this week that happened across the state of Texas. Of course, probably the biggest one that happened on Wednesday was Malik Muhammad, South Oak Cliff, commits to Texas. He had what was the Alabama and was it Alabama and A&M were they the two? Is that correct? So he commits there. Jackson, what do you make of this commitment?
I think this is a big time get for Texas. You've seen a lot of offensive players and high profile offensive players commit so far, and getting a guy like Malik Muhammad to commit there is very big for them. Getting one of these he's the second rated cornerback in the country, top in the state of Texas. So this is a big time get for Texas to kind of start jumping on getting some defensive players. As we know, the SEC is a defensive type of league. I expect them to try to hit hard on getting some of these in-state players like Anthony Hill and David Hicks. But Malik Muhammad was definitely another stepping stone to take in trying to get that number one recruiting class this year.
Do you think this might have an impact on maybe where JVN goes? I mean, he seems to be leaning A&M. I think it was Brian Peroni even says, they're working hard on him and Anthony Hill. Do you think this might help the cause of Texas and maybe still in JVN away? I know as the kind of the A&M kind of go-to expert here, what are your kind of thoughts on that? Do you think he's still locked in with A&M?
Yeah, I think he's still locked in with A&M. I know he's going to be going to the pool party here at the end of the July. It's one of A&M's biggest recruiting events. You saw A&M get a lot of commitments last year from it. I expect him to still be going to that. And honestly, I haven't seen anything that's really showed that he might be thinking about the other way. I think he likes A&M and likes what they're going to bring for him. So as of right now, I'd say A&M is still a lock for him. But other than that, I mean, I think A&M's recruitment in general is going to start picking up very soon. You're going to see a lot of commitments from what I've been hearing happening at the pool party. You saw a lot of A&M assistant coaches and a lot of A&M recruiting coordinators and so have you also commits. Start posting a hashtag Aggie Elite with a diamond emoji. No one really knew what that was about. Everyone was trying to figure out what it was about. But obviously there's something in the works going on at Texas A&M. So as we see Texas is already putting together a great class, you see A&M is definitely got something coming, and don't expect it to hold off too much longer as A&M has kind of had a slow summer in recruiting, but I expect it to pick up, and it's going to be very exciting to see Texas and Texas A&M kind of battling out for recruits these next couple of weeks. I know you mentioned Anthony Hill as well. I think Anthony Hill is kind of a toss-up right now. I think when you look at both sides have had great linebacker play the past couple of years. I know if Anthony Hill decided to go to A&M, I know he would probably play right away for A&M in a heartbeat. They really have one returning linebacker. They missed out on Harold Perkins this year in this past recruiting class. So I know Anthony, if he's looking at playing time, I think A&M is a great fit for him. But I know he's going to get playing time whichever side he decides to play at. So as of right now, I'd say Anthony Hill is kind of 50-50. But we'll see how everything starts to turn out as we get towards the end of July going into the fall season.
You said something that kind of maybe sparked a topic of discussion for us, and since we don't have very many topics in the first half of the show, I'm going to bring it up now. Do you think that might actually be maybe a less of a concern for athletes, like playing time? Trying to get that 3 years of eligibility out of the way, go pro, get the NFL money, but now with NIL kind of in the mix, it might be okay, like to maybe take that red shirt year or something. Do you think NIL might factor into some of that, where it's like it's not going to be as serious to get that playing time right away?
Yeah, I would say it doesn't hurt. The only way it could hurt is if you have a guy, let's say a high profile top 10 guy that is expecting, hey, I commit to this school, I'm going to play as soon as I jump in there. The concern with the NIL and having a guy like that is if he thinks he's going to play right away and he's not going to get to play well. If he has an NIL deal and then he decides to transfer, it's only then it becomes like a free agency. I feel like NIL will help a lot of these athletes. Maybe not as much the high profile, but a lot of these guys that are kind of in the middle towards the top, but not really these top guys. I think that helps them kind of stay committed to that school and realize, hey, when it's my turn, I'm going to ball out. Until then, I'm just going to work hard, play hard, enjoy the benefits of what NIL is doing for me, and stick with that school. But I definitely think NIL is helping. I definitely think you see it more in other sports than football because some of these guys, I would say for baseball and basketball and other sports as well, you're not always going to come in and play right away as a freshman. You got to realize there are older guys above you. But having an NIL deal definitely will help you kind of stay committed to the school.
Yeah, and to go back on your point there, I think I think you look at 5-7 last year for Texas, and definitely disappointing. But I think if you're like someone that's that watches football, yeah, 5-7 was disappointed, but they weren't going to go undefeated last year. I think everyone kind of is aware of that. But now you're seeing kind of the why they brought in Steve Sarkisian and the staff he brought in. It's to get these recruits like this. And man, right now, 2025 is when, of course, I know that I think Texas would like to be in the SEC tomorrow, if they could. But it's really going to come down to Oklahoma and their inability to really pay out the portion of the contract that they still owe. But man, if the recruiting keeps on going the way it is with Texas and Texas A&M, man, 2025, hopefully Thanksgiving, that's when I would want it, back or the Black Friday, I think it was, Texas A&M, Texas. I mean, no better. That's what I remember growing up, right? And so, it's kind of almost looks like it's starting just from a recruiting standpoint, going towards when 2025 hits. Both of these squads are going to be just that rivalry's going to be back, and I can't wait, man. I mean, you're an Aggie, I'm a Longhorn. That rivalry, it stinks that we haven't had it for so long. So, you got something to say, Jackson?
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of people, when you root for a team, obviously you have bias, but as an A&M fan, you love to see that Texas is getting back to where they should be, especially in the recruiting game. Now, in the
On
past
paper, right? On
years,
paper, let's be. I'll be fair. On paper,
well, on
right?
paper,
On
yes,
paper, yeah.
what I was going to say is we've seen Texas have top classes in the past, I would say 5 to 6 years, and them not perform well. While we're looking at this class right now and what A&M put together last year, on paper, it's looking like they're trending back in the right direction. And to see a top A&M team versus a top Texas team, I feel like in 2025, it's just going to be really exciting. It's going to be what fans have been waiting for almost 10 years now. I mean, I remember watching Texas kick the game-winning field goal and just being absolutely uh, upset and down because I would have to listen to my Texas friends talk about how they beat us the last time. And I'm very excited to see the game come back. I never actually got to go to a game as a fan, so I'm excited to actually be able to potentially go to a game. It's going to be a blast, and it's just great to see Texas and Texas A&M be at an elite status right now on paper, and also just where they're going and projecting to be.
I was on the opposite end of that spectrum, by the way. Very, very happy when that kick went through. Let's move on to a couple of our other kind of notes we have before we move on to our interview for the week. Probably the other biggest news, I would say, as far as just recruiting goes from the state of Texas, is J Shanahan, the behemoth of a man. If you even though he's only a senior in a high school, he releases his top five, and to make the list are Texas A&M, USC, Texas, Georgia, and LSU. You do feel he is leaning A&M, and of course you know that space well. So, kind of walk me through this top five commit, or I guess top five release, and your thoughts on why he's leaning towards A&M.
Yeah, I feel like just A&M is a great fit for him. You're going to see a lot of young people, young underclassmen play for A&M on the offensive line this year. They're a team that has shown in the past. I mean, you see Kenyon Green when he came in as a freshman, he was able to start at right guard for an SEC West team. So you obviously see A&M is willing to play freshmen, especially on the offensive line at an early level. I just also think TJ is a great fit there. He's exactly what A&M needs in an offensive lineman. We want guys that can maul, and you have to have guys that really have that dog in them and have that fight in them in the SEC to play against all these big defensive linemen who are some of the top in the country. So I think TJ fits really well there. I've seen lots of things that show me that he's trending in that direction. I think you could see a possible commitment after the pool party or at the pool party for A&M, but don't the only school I would say don't sleep on is LSU. I think LSU is kind of rising with him. So as of right now, I think A&M's the choice, but LSU is kind of right there. They're not too far behind.
Interesting. This is something that kind of just popped up on my Twitter thread right now as we were talking, and I don't know if you want to talk about this now or save it for another show, but the D1 Council is recommending that NCAA get rid of the one-time part of its transfer rule. So, athletes will be able to transfer, kind of almost as many times as they wanted without the penalty. Interesting news there, Jackson. What are your? I guess we can have a bigger maybe conversation next week with Ashton. But what are your initial thoughts on hearing this?
I mean, obviously the transfer portal, a lot of people have different opinions on it. As an A&M fan, I've seen in other sports specifically, and especially in basketball and baseball this year, we saw transfers do really well for us. It really helped our programs that are now rising. As you've seen A&M basketball and A&M baseball not really do too well last year. This year, A&M baseball makes it to the College World Series. A&M basketball gets snubbed out of the tournament, but they make it to the NIT, and they do pretty well there. So football-wise, you see guys transferring all the time, especially in conference as well. To let players transfer multiple times, I think that it's good for the player, but it also hurts teams. It hurts teams because then you're going to see guys maybe transferring to schools for playing time, but then transferring to another school for NIL, and then transferring back to another. It could just be a whole circus. As of right now, my initial thoughts are this is just going to end not in the way that NCAA maybe wants it to, but as of right now, I'm not necessarily a big fan of the being able to transfer multiple times without penalty.
I'm gonna look on the other end of that spectrum. I mean, I think sometimes when we think of things, we look at the worst case, right? And I think the worst case in that situation is I was going to transfer, right? For kind of whatever reasons. But I think you're going to have, I think this is beneficial for maybe some of those in those situations you might not think of, right? Maybe someone transfers because, and again, a lot of these situations I'm going to talk about, they're completely hypothetical, maybe would never happen. But, you think about, hey, I'm going to transfer because I came in and the coach I wanted to play for, he got let go, and the coach that came in, he just wasn't. It wasn't the system. And this is for all sports, not just football, but system is not what I signed up for. The coaching staff wasn't what I signed up for, so I'm gonna transfer. And they transfer, and then something maybe else happens. Hey, you hear about this all the time. Hey, my mom died. Right, I'm gonna go home and help take care of my dad, or something like that, right? There's all these I think special situations that this is going to be beneficial for, and yes, you're going to have those situations where it's going to get a little hectic when you kind of think of especially college football. But I think for other sports, it's going to be beneficial. So it'll be a little messy, but I think there's going to be some good out of this as well. move on to our last topic before we move on to our interview, and that's Jaden Greathouse. We said it in our show last week. Hey, when our show's live, he's probably committing, and sure enough, he does commit when our show. I made a little note on the show, but wanted to just talk about it. He officially commits to Notre Dame over OU, and I'll tell you what. Marcus Freeman, first year head coach, for me almost sneakily. I think he's putting together a really good class, and I think Notre Dame gets a lot of bad rub because they're not in the conference. They'll get into if they're going to fee, they're getting to the playoff just because that's because their name that carries that pedigree. Which, I mean, people can make arguments about that, sure, but I'm really liking what Coach Freeman's doing there at Notre Dame. Jackson, your thoughts on Greathouse committing to Notre Dame?
Yeah, I think this is a big time get for Notre Dame. You're getting one of the top receivers in the state and could end up being the best wide receiver to ever play Texas high school football. As we see, he's not too far behind the all-time receiving yards record set a couple years ago by another wide receiver. But I think this is a great get for Notre Dame. He is an elite wide receiver. He's won 3 state championships. He was the state MVP last year. I mean, guy's just an absolute stud on the outside. You can put him inside. He does have breakaway speed. He's got great hands. Big time get for Notre Dame. Also, Notre Dame's starting to make their footprint in Texas. They've gotten Jaden Greathouse, and then they also went and got Micah Bell down the road from me, down in Houston from Kincaid, elite DB. So you're definitely seeing Notre Dame start to come down in Texas, as even right now they're trying to get Austin Novosad from Dripping Springs to flip his commitment to Notre Dame right now. So I think this is a big time get for Notre Dame. This might actually help propel them and help them get more Texas players. As you can see, Jaden and also Micah start to help recruit guys from around their area to try to go with them to Notre Dame.
Let's not forget Braylon James there as well. So from the Austin area. So I mean, they're building something there at Notre Dame, and excited to see what they do. Talking about Jane Greathouse and Westlake, that kind of leads us kind of almost as a segue into to our interview this week because you got to interview in with with Westlake's rival Lake Travis quarterback and Michigan State commit. So kind of Notre Dame Michigan State kind of almost rivalry right there, Bo Edmundson. So go ahead and talk about that and lead us into the interview, Jackson.
Yeah, I got the chance to talk to Bo and interview him. He's a great kid. He's been a 3-year starter, or he will be a 3-year starter this year at Lake Travis. He's been playing since his sophomore year. He talked to me about his commitment to Michigan State. He talked to me about what it was like playing in the regional or in the state semifinal game against North Shore last year, goals for this year. It was a great interview, great kid, humble kid, and it's going to be a great interview for the show.
All right. Well, without further ado, let's jump to that interview with Bo Edmundson right now.
Thanks, Josh. We're here with class of 2023 Lake Travis quarterback Bo Edmundson, committed to Michigan State. Bo, how are you doing?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
No problem, man. Let's jump right into it right there. You're committed to Michigan State. Michigan State has been recruiting Texas really hard this year. What was it about Michigan State that really made it feel like home? Maybe it was something on your visit. Maybe it was a game you visited. What made that place home for you?
I don't know. Just ever since I got my offer, I think it was last May or March, around that time, just consistent communication with the coaching staff, Coach Tucker, Coach Johnson, just wanting me to get up to campus, and then me finally getting the opportunity to get up to campus this February. So it took a while. Just the home atmosphere that they have there, the welcoming that they showed to me and my family, it felt right.
Obviously, you found that in Michigan State. Now let's talk about you've been the varsity quarterback at Lake Travis, which has traditionally had quarterbacks go play at the next level. You see guys in the NFL like Baker Mayfield. What's it been like playing for Lake Travis? You started during your sophomore year. What's it been like playing for Lake Travis, and what are some things that you liked about last season for yourself?
I don't know. It's just an honor to really play at Lake Travis. I mean, like you said, Baker Mayfield and all the other quarterbacks who have gone through, just being able to carry on that legacy and hand over the torch of, I think it's 11 Division I quarterbacks in a row now. I mean, just to continue the legacy, it's pretty awesome. And then with last season playing with those guys, we had a very talented team last year, a lot of receivers went on to play Division I football. A lot of DBs, defensive guys went on to play Division I football. So just having the special room and the special team around you, it makes my life a lot easier.
Yeah, I mean, looking at your stats, man, you had 3,239 yards. You basically had 215 yards a game, had 38 total touchdowns. And you also got you've got 2 touchdowns on the ground as well. Y'all make it to the semis last year. You make it to the regional final last year. You lose there. Now you're going into your senior year. Lake Travis hasn't won the state championship, correct me if I'm wrong, since 2016. So obviously the goal is state, but what are some personal goals or team goals that you have for next season?
Yeah, we just have a super young. So last year I was pretty much the youngster in the crew and just taking on the leadership role as a young guy. But now I'm the older guy and we got a lot of young players to play with. So just trying to coach them up, get them on the winning mentality. Because like you said, we actually did go to semifinals last year. We lost to North Shore. But I think that's the goal. I mean, I think North Shore beat us the past 3 years now. So just trying to get through them. I mean, they're a very good team down in Houston. Just getting through them and just continuing the deep playoff runs.
Yeah, and the other thing that I feel like a lot of people don't really realize all the time is y'all have to play Westlake every year for district. And this year, y'all's district, y'all have got three solid quarterbacks in that district with yourself.
Yep.
You've got Austin Novosad at Dripping Springs, and then now you've got up-and-coming Paxton Land at Westlake. What's it like getting to play against that type of competition in a district alone?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty crazy because a lot of those other teams, they play some not so good teams, but when we play, like you said, Austin and Paxton and a lot of other quarterbacks like Connor over there at Bowie, it just prepares you for playoffs. I think that's part of our success for the deep playoff runs. Just playing the competition week in and week out. Even some of the not as good teams in our district, they'll still give you a run for your money and they'll make it a game if you're not performing. So just that prepares us for playoffs and prepares us for later games.
So now that we're in the off season, we're about 3 or 4 weeks out from putting the pads back on, getting back to practice.
Yep.
What is a game that y'all have circled on your schedule for next season?
I think it has to be Westlake. It's always the game that we have circled on our schedule. We typically play them the last regular season game of the year. Now we have them week 5 this year, little switch up. So that game's always circled, just trying to get revenge from last year. That's the one that's circled. I mean, they're the team to beat for the past 2-3 years. So I feel like we can do it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Westlake has had very good success winning 3 state championships the past 3 years. Obviously, y'all want to change the script on them this year.
Yep.
Now we're going to kind of switch it up here, ask a little bit of a fun question. Obviously, NIL has become such a big deal in college football now. You see guys having deals with Canes, with car dealerships, with what have you. What would be the NIL deal for you that you would love to have, whether it's a candy, car dealership, a brand? What would it be for you?
I think it would either have to be Chick-fil-A or Bojangles. I mean, it's bow time, but they don't have much. I don't think they have Bojangles in Michigan, so that may be a stretch. but Bojangles and Chick-fil-A for sure.
For sure. I mean, you've already got the bow part. It's written in the sand already. It's already there. So the last thing I really got for you, Bo, as we're looking towards next season, that'll be your last year playing for Lake Travis. What is the legacy that you want to still build upon but leave at Lake Travis once you've graduated?
Yeah, I just want to leave a legacy of hard work pays off. I think the young quarterbacks in our QB room have started to understand that and adopt that. It's going to be long days in the film room. You're not going to go home. You're going to be up there from 5:30 to 6 p.m. every single day, and you got to love it. I think the young quarterbacks are starting to adopt that, and that's really, if you're in the film room and taking things really slow, that's what slows the game down, I think, the most for us. So putting in the extra hours and just working hard, I feel like.
Those are some wise words from a young senior who's about to become a Michigan State Spartan. Bo, the last thing I'll let you say before we kind of end it here. What's your message to Michigan State fans as you'll be going there to play for the next 3 to 5 years after next season?
I'm just excited for it, ready to get up to East Lansing, ready to play in the big games. I feel like Texas high school football is somewhat underrated. I mean, it's definitely – everybody knows that Texas high school football is the best, but I feel like people take it for granted sometimes, and being able to play Texas high school football for 3 years, it really will prepare you for the next level. So I'm ready for it.
Sure. This has been Bo Edmundson from Lake Travis, committed to Michigan State. Bo, thank you for hopping on the show. We're going to send it back to Josh and myself now. So, Bo, thanks once again. Loved having you on the show.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Once again, Jackson, thanks for that interview. Going to be a great season to watch. Obviously, I think Westlake and Lake Travis are always battling back and forth for that playoff spot. So it'll be interesting to see, or not maybe not for the playoff spot, for the first spot, I should say. I mean, both of them obviously made it to the state semis last year. Westlake obviously going and winning it all. Lake Travis coming up just short against North Shore, so they're out for some revenge this season and maybe trying to put a stop to Westlake's current win streak. So I think Lake Travis was the last team to beat them. It was during that 2019 season. So Westlake's been on that winning streak ever since. Let's move on to our Under the Radar segment now. Under the Radar is, of course, the segment where we take a look at athletes we feel are under the radar for one reason or another. Doesn't mean they're not a great athlete by any means. Sometimes we cover these athletes that are 3 or 4 stars, and we're like, why do you only have 3 or 4 offers? It makes no sense. And so that's what Under the Radar is all about. Is just trying to give some love to some of these athletes. So Jackson, we'll start with you first. Who you got this week?
Yeah, so my under the radar athlete this week is Demetrius Pierce, Coppers Cove High School, class of 2024 wide receiver. He's 6'3", 180. He's a guy I got DM'd about from Fury 7-on-7, then Coach Grant. Obviously 6'3", 180. That's great size for a wide receiver. Has great speed, great athleticism. He's a guy that's got great ball skills as well. Obviously, as you can see in the tape, a guy that can make big plays when you need it. I expect him to start picking up his recruitment as he's going into his junior year. I think if he hits some camps and stuff, some college coaches are definitely going to take chances on him, and I definitely think he's worth the chance. He's a guy I could see starting to blow up in his junior year, progressing into his senior year. So watch out for this kid from Coppers Cove, Demetrius Pierce. I think he's about to blow up in his junior year, and as you can see in the tape, already a solid wide receiver that a school needs to take a chance on.
My guy is I'm sticking with wide receiver as well, by the way, but I'm going to go with Ethan Mcallister of Buda Johnson High School over here in the Austin, San Antonio area. Buda Johnson, of course, is in its, I think, 4th year of being a high school varsity football program now, and I think he is kind of one of those cogs that's been helping build this program up. They're actually moving up to 6A this year, got realigned, and I think they're actually in Westlake and Lake Travis district, so it's going to be some good competition to really showcase what he's made of, because I mean, this man is he not only is he an athlete, I think he's a dual sport athlete if you ask me. Just watching the tape, he's quick off the ball, actually absolutely can torch defenders with his first move. He gets that first move and he can get right past the defender. You love to see that from a wide receiver. He's tough to bring down in open space. If he gets past you, you're almost never going to catch him. And so you love that speed that he has. He's also got some quick feet. If there's a situation where he needs to juke and jive, he's going to be able to do that and then use that speed to score. So just like I said, look at the clips, you'll see him making defenders miss. I think he's going to be a nice addition to a college. He's uncommitted at the moment. I didn't see any offers. At least he's not talking about them. But I think whoever gets him, and maybe it could be one of those situations too, because I'll tell you what, he could play baseball as well. And so, I think it's kind of be up to him. Does he want to stick to one sport? Maybe he can play both sports at a college. Maybe he's looking at that. So that could be maybe part of his mindset as well. So I think he's going to have the pick of the litter if he wants to play college or football. So my under the radar athlete of the week is Ethan Mcallister. And if you want to be featured on our show as an under the radar athlete, or someone that needs to be featured, hit us up in the comments. Let us know in the DMs. Send us an email. Heck, if you have our numbers, give us a text. We will cover you or an athlete on the show. That's what we love to do here. That being said, that's going to be our show for today. As always, I like to end the show with some shout-outs. So, Jackson, who you shouting out, man?
Yeah, I'm just going to shout out you, Josh. This has been episode 24. We've been doing this now for a couple months, and it's been a lot of fun. I've enjoyed doing the show with you. Going to enjoy doing many more shows with you. And also, just want to shout out the team that's been doing the photo shoots the past 2 weeks. We've really been out there sweating, doing our thing, putting together great media day for our clients. So it's been a lot of fun, and I know it's been a lot of hard work, but shout out to everyone that's been putting in the work to do that. It's been a blast.
Yeah, shout out to you as well. I mean, we're about to move into the football season, and it's gonna be fun doing this show during the football season itself. I mean, we're getting closer every week to that 1 year mark, and man, can't wait for that to happen. I'm also going to shout out THSCA, Texas High School Coaches Association. Again, that conference was this weekend. I love that conference. I mean, you get coaches coming, learning, and networking, and that's what it's all about if you're a Texas high school coach. So shout out to them as well. Got to see some people out there, so that was always good because I obviously know some coaches in the field. My brother's a coach, and then I got a good friend who's a professor at the University of Texas. Actually, he works a lot with them, so I got to see him as well. So shout out to you, Dr. Childs. That's going to be our show for today. As always, guys, we are here every Friday at noon. I think we may end up changing to Thursday once the football season starts. But you know, we'll cross that bridge as it gets closer. But hey, until told otherwise, we're here every Friday at noon for your viewing pleasure and all things you need to know Texas high school football recruiting. So until next week, I'm Whack, and that's Jackson. We'll see you at the games.